Hello again, this is part 2 of Skitch for the iPad. In the first video, we brought in one picture, we added an arrow, we changed the color of that arrow, and added some text. Now let's see what other things that we can do with our choices on the right-hand side. So let's tap on the square on the right-hand side. Then I can choose which shape I'd like. I'm going to leave it on square, so I will leave that selected. Now let's change the color of the square. Let's make it red. Okay, so now when I press my finger on the iPad and then I just drag, I will stop when I have it the size that I want. So let's make it about this big. Okay, now I still can move it. So let's do that at this point in time. Let's say I want to move it over the light. So by tapping on it, I can then move it or resize it. There's that double arrow again. So if I wanted to resize it, since it doesn't quite fit the light, I'm just taking my finger, I'm dragging it out, and then let's move it over. Okay, then when I'm done, I simply tap off of that shape. So let's move down. Now let's tap on the marker. Couple things we can do here. Let's take a look at both of these items. So let's start with the marker. It is just that. With the marker selected, I can then pick my color. Let's make this one yellow. And now I have a marker. So now my finger becomes a marker, so I can write. I just made a star there. If I want to change the thickness, since we haven't done that, let's look at that. Tap back on the color. Let's make it thicker. That's as thick as I can go. Let's see what that looks like. So quite a bit different. Now let's look at the other choice with the marker. And that's a highlighter. So by selecting the highlighter then, I can take my finger and go, let's go over the t-shirt there. And it's really thick since I left my setting that way. It is in fact a highlighter, so you can still see the letters behind it. I like that. The next one down is a blur technique. I like this one. It's kind of a pixelation. So by selecting that, and then if I wanted to pixelate something, let's say a face or a word or whatever the case is. So now let's pixelate that t-shirt, the area that we just highlighted. So by clicking and dragging over it with my finger, then when I let up, look what happens. It pixelates that area so you can't see it. Let's do that with the mannequin's face. So I still have that selected. And there you go. So if you have someone in a picture that you wanted to take out, or whatever the case is, you can certainly do that. I really like that feature. And this one's fairly new. And the next one down is crop. So by tapping on that, then I can crop a certain area. So let's just crop something here. Take my finger, just click and drag. You can see that it highlights and it makes anything inside the area there. You can definitely see where you're at. And then we'll crop anything outside of it. So then I'll let go. And then everything outside of that area is gone. Let's say I didn't crop enough or I cropped too much. There's always the undo in the upper left-hand side there. Undo is your friend. Let's undo that. So now if I wanted to save my work, I can go to the upper right-hand side and click on Save. Then it takes me back. Now what it's done now, it will add this to my notes. Now let's get back into that photo sketch document. Simply tap on it. Now on the upper right-hand side, there are several things I can do. I can send it to my camera roll, I can email it, I can create a public link, and we won't talk about AirPlay right at this point in time. So I will click Done. And then if I wanted to at this point in time, I could click the plus and create a new sketch note. Now before I stop this sketch video tutorial, let's say I want to delete this. I would simply tap up in the upper right-hand side, that trash can. Then by tapping on the trash can, now I have an X that I can tap above that photo sketch document. But I'm not going to delete it at this time, so I will just click Done.